Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To the Honorable, my thesis supervisor, Ms. Zuni Barokah, SA, M.Comm, Ph.D, CA, to the Honorable thesis examiner. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Hendrawan Dhanes Sudibyo. I'm an undergraduate accounting student, batch 2018, in Faculty of Ekonomika and Bisnis, Gadjah Mada University. Today, I would like to present the result of my bachelor thesis titled Corporate Social Responsibility Disclosure, a study in Indonesian banking sector. The background of this research is the trend where sales are becoming more prevalent topics in business world. As can be seen in the US, S&P 500 companies have increased their sustainability reporting. These trends also happen in Indonesia, even supported by regulation released by Indonesian government, such as Undang-Undang Number 40/2007 regarding limited liability company. However, the comprehensiveness of sustainability report in Indonesia is still lacking compared to several ASEAN countries. In order for banking sector to actively increase the living standard of the people, OJK released regulation POJK 51/2017 that require bank in Indonesia to release sustainability report with the increase of population accompanied by the increase of financial institution account ownership and the decrease of bank umum. It leads to the increase of responsibility bank in Indonesia towards environment and society. The problem statement for this research will be as follows. Companies in Indonesia is still lacking on their overall disclosure rate compared to other ASEAN countries. Next is Indonesia have a big population and therefore companies have a bigger responsibility. Lastly, bank based on OJK regulation have a duty to improve people's living standard. The research question for this research will be as follows. Does company size affect corporate social responsibility disclosure? Does company profitability affect corporate social responsibility disclosure? And does the size of the company board of commissioner affect corporate social responsibility disclosure? Next is the theoretical framework. There are two different theories that will be used in this research. First is stakeholder theory. This theory explains that company has obligation not only to their owner, but also the whole stakeholder, such as employee, government, and environment. And it is company responsibility to balance all stakeholder needs. Next is the legitimacy theory. This theory is explained where the company need to follow a certain social rule, value, and belief in order to legitimize their existence. If company do not follow these rules, then the society will refuse their existence and try to destroy them. From these two theories, born corporate social responsibility. There are multiple benefits from corporate social responsibility. Number 1, it increases share and market share. Number 2, it strengthens the brand positioning. Number 3, it increases the capability to attract, motivate, and nurture employees. Number 4, it reduces operational costs. And number 5, it attracts investor. Next is the hypothesis. For this research, the hypothesis will be 1. Company size significantly affect corporate social responsibility disclosure. Hypothesis 2. Profitability significantly affect corporate social responsibility disclosure. Hypothesis 3. The size of board of commissioner significantly affect corporate social responsibility disclosure. Next is the research method. This research designed using quantitative method and using multiple linear regression in order to find out whether the independent variable affect the dependent variable. And in this research, using purposive sampling to gain its sample. The type of data that will be used is secondary data and part of panel data. And the source of it is from the company annual report and sustainability report. The scope and limitation is limited on companies in Indonesia banking sector that registered in IDX from the year 2016 to 2021 that part of Buku 3 and Buku 4. Next is research sample. The first characteristic is company in banking subcategory that registered in IDX between 2016 to 2021. The second one is a company that part of Buku 3 and Buku 4 in 2021. Lastly, it's company that do not experience loss between 2016 to 2021. Therefore, in this research, the sample that is going to be used is 102 sample year. Next is the variable. There are 4 different variables. 3 independent variables and 1 independent variable. The first independent variable is the size, which is log natural of total asset. The second independent variable is the profitability, which is return on investment that can be calculated by net profit divided by total asset. The third independent variable is the size of Board of Commissioner, which can be calculated by the amount of member of Board of Commissioner. Lastly, the dependent variable is the CSR, which can be calculated by the score divided by 91 using GRI G4 standard. Next is the data preparation. In order to use the data need to pass the classical assumption test, which is normality test, multicollinearity test, heteroscedastic test, and autocorrelation test. Lastly, the data will be tested in order to answer the hypothesis. The first is F-test. This test is used in order to examine whether the independent variable together affect dependent variable. The next is R-square. R-square test is to measure how much the effect of all independent variables together to dependent variable. Lastly is the T-test. T-test is that test individually independent variable affect the dependent variables. Next is the result. First, the F-test. As we can see from the table, the significance of the F-test is 0.00, which is lower than 0.05, which means all independent variable affects the dependent variable. Next, this R-square test. Based on the adjusted R-square, which is 0.187, 18.7% of CSR is affected by all independent variables. Lastly, the T-test. From the table, we can make a regression model as follows. CSR equal negative 22.76 plus 12.204 times size plus minus 0.181 times profitability plus minus 1.25 times Board of Commissioner plus error. First, let's see the size. As we can see from the table, the significance of the size is 0.00, which means lower than 0.05. Therefore, size is significantly affects CSR, and we accept hypothesis number 1. And if we see from the coefficient, it is positive. Therefore, size is positively affect CSR. This may be because the big company see brand as very important and willing to spend money to maintain their brand. And it's also because the regulation such as POJK number 51 2017, which require bank in Buku 3, Buku 4, and foreign bank to release their own sustainability report by 2019. Next is profitability. Again, from the significant, we see they're lower than 0.05, which means profitability is significantly affects CSR. Therefore, we accept hypothesis number 2. And from the coefficient is negative. Therefore, profitability have negative effect to CSR. The reason this can be like this is because there are major decrease in profit due to COVID-19 and therefore increase in non-performing loan. And there's also still rules number POJK number 51 year 2017, which require banks to keep reporting sustainability report. Lastly, Board of Commissioner. As we can see, the significant level is 0.66, which is higher than 0.05. Therefore, Board of Commissioner size is not significantly affect CSR. This might be because plan and budget of CSR already done in the beginning of the year, and the commissioner only done as supervisor to make sure everything makes sense and still to the plan. Conclusion. Company size is significantly affect positively to corporate social responsibility disclosure. This means the bigger the company size is, the more CSR disclosure will be. Next is company profitability significantly affect negatively to corporate social responsibility disclosure. This means when company profitability goes down, the CSR disclosure will go up. Lastly, Board of Commissioner size is not significantly affect corporate social responsibility disclosure. This means no matter how many commissioner member there are no influence to CSR. The impact of this research is reinforce the legitimacy and the stakeholder theory capability in explaining the relationship between company characteristic and CSR. It also can be used as an evidence that banks in Indonesia still comply to Indonesia regulation. Next, the limitation of this research is only limited in one industry as a population. It's also limited to publicly released information and available document, and is only using one type of measurement for CSR. The suggestion for the next research is using a different industry as a population and using different company characteristics such as company age, leverage, etc. And the next research also can use a different measurement for their CSR, such as the amount of money they spend on CSR. That's all from my presentation. I hope this presentation is helpful and can be used for the next research project. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.